you will blow the horn of Gabriel for me, opening the gates to the pit for the aristocracy of hell who will attend your coronation. You will wear the crown. You will sit in the throne. And then, once we have danced the Mephisto waltz, the world will be remade in hell's image. All the demon hordes will be freed. And you and I will rule over hell on earth, together for all eternity.
Sorry, but I have school.
Ladies, gentlemen, Melvin, welcome to a special bonus episode of Sabrina's Witch Trials because, folks, we're back here now to talk about the part 2, the second part of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which was posted on Netflix just about 2 weeks ago when this comes out. I thought we would give the listeners here some time to absorb it, because holy shit, some of those episodes will stop you dead in your tracks. But yes, we are here. We've watched all of it. We have thought too much about it, some might say. I've written copious notes, handwritten, for this special episode, and we're going to go through it. We're going to talk about what happens with all the characters, what they've been up to in this second part, where the season ends, our favorite episodes, least favorite episodes, best performances, worst performances, where we think this is going to lead in part 3 or season 2, part 1, whatever the hell they call it, and so much more. And so much more about Melvin also. Dorcas got a subplot, and good for Melvin. Along with me on this little walk through the path of night. How about that? How about that for a play on words? Because that's what we're talking about. Cris Araujo is here, our resident head witch in charge. Senior correspondent on all things chilling. Cris, welcome. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Since the last time when you were also on the show, and the time before that when you were also on the show.
I feel like your listeners, all 5 of them, are going to get real tired.
First of all, I want to clarify this. Hundreds of listeners.
Okay. Well,
maybe thousands. I haven't checked anymore. I haven't checked in a while. And they're all Cris Fits, as they call themselves.
What?
Cris Fits. They're like misfits, but for Cris.
Oh.
I came up with that right off. I know. It's good. I came up with it right off the top of the dome. Writing like this.
I was like, Fitbit? What?
That's right. They're all Fitbit lovers.
Do they not know me?
Writing like this will get me into the
Cris
writer's
Fits.
room of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Sorry.
Here's hoping.
Sorry. Anti-Cris Fits.
The anti-Cris.
We'll get into how the writer's room functions here in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. But Cris, it's been several months since we had any content from Chilling Adventures. Midwinter's Tale was the solo Christmas episode we got the week before Christmas, I believe. No, it was early. I think it was late November actually, because I remember complaining about that.
It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
It was released on December 14th, so a week before Christmas, just about. I remember thinking it was stupid because it was released in fall and it was called A Midwinter's Tale. Doesn't really work. But
wow, okay.
It's
December.
Yes.
Everyone is like, it's winter.
It's been about 4 months.
It's winter in New York in fucking September. So
no, New York last time it was 70 in October.
In October, it's 70, and then the next week, it'll be still October. Mm-hmm. It'll be snowing. So you can't tell me this is what it is.
Man, those Cris Fits are just...
I know.
Turning right off. Cris.
Sorry.
Anyway, it's been a couple of months, and when last we saw Sabrina, she was giving Harvey some pencils he didn't want, and...
magic self-sharpening pencils?
The color never runs out or something like that. Who the fuck cares? And Zelda was giving away a baby to a weird forest witch. We're back.
As you do.
9 episodes in this collection, this part, and I will say the one thing the show doesn't do is not progress. There is big changes from the beginning of the season or the part to the end of part 2. I think some of those changes are for the better. I think there are some interesting avenues that they go down that they don't really explore all the way. And of course, because it is a Riverdale-esque show in the Riverdale family, there's some balls insanity that we have to talk about.
Yeah. I think it also takes a very different route than I kind of expected.
Definitely. In season 6 of this, episode 6 of this part, I'm gonna call it a season.
Yeah, I don't care about
episode
that
6
stupid.
of this part makes a big left-hand turn into an avenue that was not really set up as much as they will have you believe.
But still, like, the better turn.
Yes. Before we get any further, I will say so many spoilers are going to be coming out. We're not going to hold back on that. If you want to find out what we thought without having us spoil it, reach out Twitter, Instagram, Sabrina's Witch Trials, or at Chris Conkers for Chris's opinion. I'm sure you want her, all you crazy Chris fits. It's gonna get over. All right,
I think it will.
It's gonna be the hot new shirt selling on the Sabrina's Witch Trials website.
And
we don't
and,
sell
and
shirts.
Phil's fans will be the philanthropists.
That's right. And Al's fans will be. I don't know. I think my girlfriend listens to some of these.
I'm just thinking of stupid things like the alienists.
Good.
Or
the Alliance.
That's good.
Yes.
Better.
My allegiance. Great.
It works.
I agree. Mine should be the easiest one also, by the way. Chris, best place to start off in this discussion of part 2 of Chilling Adventures is to start with the girl herself, Zelda. We'll be starting with...
Hilda.
No. The girl. Lucy Davis, come on. Who's she kidding?
I'm sorry. She is a fine, supple lady.
Zelda keeps bringing her back from the dead, and you can tell by looking at her. That's all I'm going to say.
She's constantly reborn. I mean...
It's true. Anyway... Sabrina Spellman here.
Sabs.
In this season...
I refuse to call her Brina, so Sabs it is.
You and everyone else. I mean, Roz is really trying to get that over. It's not as over as Chris Fitz, I'll tell you that much. In this season, she starts out really detached from her mortal friends. She's spending much more time in the Church of Night, in the school. What is the school called?
Oh, fuck. Why can't I
the
remember?
Academy of something. Unseen Arts.
Unseen Arts. There
something
you
like
go.
that. She's spending much more time there. She's getting involved there. And because it's this show, she's doing some half-hearted feminism and trying to topple the patriarchy, which I think is a good thing, but I think the show doesn't handle it with the most deft hand. I
think a lot of the season handles like misogyny within the Church of Night.
Sure.
And
blatant terms.
Yeah, like, I mean, Father Blackwood is just like...
Yes. He is cartoonishly misogynistic.
I know. Like, I am just gonna basically take us back to the old ways.
That's right.
This is exactly why I plan to do away with these sexist, antiquated traditions when I'm High Priestess of the Church of Night.
You listen to me. Witch is going to send to a multitude of coveted fellowships within the Church of Night, but the role of High Priest has been held by a warlock since the first stones were laid. There will never be a High Priestess of the Church of Night.
I should say, I think Richard Coyle is great as Father Blackwood again in this season. I think all the adults are still as good as they were before, and in some ways they're even better. I think Miss Wardwell, Michelle Gomez this is fantastic all throughout the season from her. But yes, Father Blackwood at times just needs the tweedly mustache to be curling while tying a woman to the railroad tracks. It is that much over the top misogynistic evil. I mean, he
wouldn't tie her to the railroad tracks. He would just straight up like stab her.
Yes. And then you're like, hey, did us all a favor, right? Heretic.
Dinner served.
That's true. They do eat people. Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be so bad, but it's just like, how many times does Sabrina have to go, oh, that's really more of a subservient thing for me to do? I'm not subservient at all. I'm a real feminist bitch, you know? Like, it's just so lazily done, and it's done repeatedly.
Truthfully, I was kind of hoping you'd be cast as Lilith.
I'm not sure I could handle playing such a subservient character. It's not really my style.
I think it's one thing when you have her pointing out that things are wrong, but it's the combination of she points out things are wrong and then decides that she's the only one capable of fixing this and takes it upon herself, where she puts herself in that role. And in a lot of these scenes, it kind of feels like that Sabrina ego, like flaring its head, where it's like, she does kind of have this inflated sense of self. Like, absolutely. I understand that she's a witch, and since she kind of started down the path of night, it's been shown that she kind of stands out, and not just because of her half mortality.
Right.
There's definitely something that stands out about her. There are weird things that happen around her. She's definitely shown to be somewhat chosen.
Yes, she's specifically important.
But I feel like to a certain extent that's kind of gone to her head, and it's not just about it being a social injustice or, you know, something that's wrong. It's that she feels like she is the only one capable of righting this wrong.
Yes, she is specially endowed with like even the mortal powers to just like, I'm the one who's going to stop this because I'm a Spellman. God, does she love saying her name in this show.
Yeah, I am Sabrina Spellman.
My God.
We get it. We know your name.
We've seen the title of the series. But yeah, I think part of that does come from like her father's history in the Church of Night. And it's like, oh, I'm a Spellman. Like, oh, I'm special. I'm more important than all of you other witches. I'm the one who's going to lead us because I'm the Spellman here. I'm the important one.
Yeah.
And that is not something that you really want to see in a protagonist.
We kind of talked about it earlier, that it's sort of a Harry Potter mentality, where like the difference being that Harry Potter he was raised completely outside of that world and then was thrust into the world where everyone knew his name.
Yes.
Everyone knew who he was, and everyone held him like as this sort of savior.
Everyone recognized that he was special because he didn't die.
But he himself in the beginning, well, for a good portion until he kind of got, his head gassed up, he was like, I don't understand any of the shit. Like, I don't understand why anyone treats me like I'm this thing when I'm just like, I've literally been living in a fucking cupboard my whole life.
Yes. And if, listener, you are concerned about the idea of Sabrina getting an overinflated sense of purpose or ego, holy shit, does the second half of the season do that?
Wait.
Because
if you think her Messiah complex was bad before...
If you think that anyone else is Antichrist, well, Sabrina is literally Antichrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler!
We said we were going to talk about spoilers,
you.
and listen, episode 2, season 2, episode 6, called The Missionaries, is where we find out that while some very well acted, I thought, missionaries were invading the Church of Night and the Academy of the Unseen Arts, Sabrina, while her schoolmates are being killed, for some reason they put a crown of thorns on her head.
Yeah.
They try to explain it away, but it's just obvious that it's there for more Jesus imagery.
Right. But like the missionaries turn out to be angels.
Yes.
And they seem to be using like weapons that are like very religious in nature. And so the understanding is that the crown takes away any magical powers that she has. That's what it's supposed to do,
and it doesn't. Because shockingly, it
does. They kill her, but then she rises again.
She rises from the dead because she's literally reversed Jesus.
Yeah, and
she brings her schoolmates back to life because she's literally reversed Jesus. And by the end of the season, after like basically trying to gain her or trying to convert her friends in the Church of Night into apostles, she has a little bit of a tango with the Dark Lord in more ways than one, and
it's a waltz out.
It is.
Not
it's
a tango.
A Mephisto waltz. She sings a little. She sings a little ditty from
Phantom of the Opera.
I was gonna say
Masquerade. It was stuck in my head for like 2 days.
Masquerade, red, yellow, spinning red. Masquerade.
I watched those episodes before Al. Like I watched the final episodes before Al did. And so I was like sitting near him when he was watching it, and I was literally like in the kitchen, like humming the song to myself, like, oh shit, because Al, if there's anything Al hates, it's musical interludes.
I really do, and it makes it really hard when you watch anything that Greg Berlanti has ever touched, because you know there's going to be some musical bit, there's going to be a musical episode, or there's going to be some unnecessary dancing, or just something that shouldn't be there that kind of cuts the legs out of a moment, like it does in that episode when the Dark Lord reveals that he does not want to marry Sabrina, but in fact, he is basically Sabrina's father, because Edward Spellman and whatever... What's the mother's name? Diana. They were having trouble conceiving, so they went to the Dark Lord, and she's kind of his daughter. The Dark Lord wants Sabrina to rule alongside him and not in like a married kind of way.
Yeah, be my queen as like, you're my daughter and you're ruling with me, not like as in Bonetown.
Bonetown, yes. Although she does get a nice Bonetown
crown.
Crown, yes.
Bonetown crown.
That's right. Hashtag Bonetown crown. But yes.
With the Masquerade sound.
In all that, Sabrina at one... There's a whole... Like, that whole... It's funny because the first 5 episodes are basically nothing. Like, they're just there to fill out and to, like, allow these writers to basically do a typical high school drama, but spooky version.
So why don't we break down those first?
Okay.
Episode 1, right?
Episode 1, Sabrina runs for best boy.
Yeah. Top boy.
Top boy. Sorry, best boy is a job on a set.
She runs for top boy because it's a misogynistic idea that only a boy can be like head of the class and in line to be, you know,
basically school president.
Essentially. It is, I told Al, it's like there's a very similar concept in like Harry Potter because it is part of like a British boarding school hierarchy. And
basically in this episode, Sabrina competes in the Triwizard Cup. She has to do 3 challenges. One of them is just a really hard quiz that she does through cheating.
She cheats.
This episode is just full of like people wanting things, but they're not good enough to do it, but they're like, I'm going to do it anyway because girls can do anything.
I know. See, that's the thing. Like you'd feel stronger about it if Sabrina could actually do the things that she's saying she could do.
If she's actually being held back because she's a girl as opposed to being held back because she's not good enough. Understandably, because she hasn't been in the school long enough.
Right. It's not...
But goddamn it,
it's
she's
not
Spellman.
because you're not... Like, yes, you're being held down because you're a girl.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not... If we're just looking at the merits, you don't actually merit having that position. The issue is that, like, even with the first part of the quiz, like, he straight up asks him one question and then asks Sabrina, like, 10 in a row that are way harder than anything. He fucking asks him a question about a pentagram.
What configuration represents the perfection of our Lord Satan's design for his people?
Easy. The pentagram.
That is correct. Point to Nicholas.
What shape is the spookiest shape?
And he thinks about it. And then he's like,
it should also be said Sabrina is running against her now boyfriend, Nick Scratch.
Yeah.
Who have a very, I would say, standoffish relationship.
Do they have a standoffish relationship?
Like, sometimes it seems like he doesn't want to be dating her, and then sometimes it seems like she doesn't really want to be dating him either. But sometimes they're happy together.
I don't know if it's... I wouldn't agree with standoffish. I think it's not... Obviously, it's not Harvey and Sabrina.
No.
It's a different kind of relationship. But I think part of Sabrina's part, like, she's feeling out how much she actually likes him and how much she actually wants to open up to him because he represents that part of her that she's just diving into.
Sure.
And I feel like she still, let's be honest, she loves Harvey.
And also,
she's only not with Harvey to protect him.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do, like, she's not choosing Nick because she prefers Nick. She's choosing Nick because...
Also, Harvey doesn't want anything to do with her.
Yes.
Since she...
But that was of her own creation.
Ruined... Yes, his brother.
But then he does. in the next couple of episodes.
Oh, you mean after this? After
and what was it, like episode 2 or episode 3? Like, he is just getting started with Roz, but he's like, "Oh, Sabrina, sure, let's get back together." And she's like, "No, I'm afraid that you're gonna get hurt." And so he's like, "Okay, then you need to like be out, and you can't come back in."
Good
like
for
that's
you,
not how it works.
I have to go.
Sabrina, if you go, you can't keep doing this. Messing with my head. I'm trying to get over you. I'm doing my best to get over you, and then this happens.
It won't ever happen again, Harvey. I promise.
What, you'll protect me? Man, I'm so done with your protection. You're right, Sabrina. This won't ever happen again.
Even though we all know that's where it's going to end up because, listen...
Harvey and Sabrina.
Exactly. No one believes for a second that whole Roz-Harvey relationship is going to be anything.
Which kind of makes me sad.
For her?
A lot of that makes me sad because despite the fact that Sabrina doesn't want anything... Like, Sabrina doesn't want to be with Harvey anymore because she's trying to protect him. That's still kind of shitty for Roz to do. Even if Roz has feelings for him, I feel like Sabrina's like not there all the time.
But see, that's the thing. It's like, is it a shitty thing to do if the person who was your friend is no longer around and there is a mutual interest between Harvey and Roz?
I think at that point, though, she's still a friend to her. Like, it's not the same level because she's not there every day. But I feel like she's still being a friend to her and she approves of it. She's never like, hey, that's fucked up. But I don't know. Maybe it's my mentality. I feel like if I were Roz, I would feel really shitty about it.
But she does get her eyesight back. Through magic.
Which she also loses it in this season.
She does lose her eyesight when like her and Harvey are getting...
I know.
That is really a bad message to send to kids where it's like, if you get...
That's the message that a lot of people said.
If you get hot and heavy with your significant other, you will go blind.
Yeah.
And then your witch friend, in doing her Antichrist miracles, will help
Have
you.
to bring your eyesight back.
But there will be a couple of hard weeks. So yes.
Where your dad will try and steal money from his church to pay for your surgery.
That's true. That first episode ends with neither of them becoming a top boy because Ambrose Spellman becomes top boy and is really just assigned that by Father Blackwood because he is indoctrinating him into the Judas Society.
And thinks he can control him, let's be honest.
Yes. Also, I thought in that episode it's a fun bit where like Ambrose is still dating Luke in that episode, and despite them having a homosexual relationship, Luke is still super misogynistic.
It's top boy for a reason, Sabrina.
Thanks for the support, Luke.
Yeah.
It's a fun reminder that even gays can be misogynists.
True.
And I support them in their life choices.
But not in their misogyny, I'm sorry.
No, of course not, but in their life choices, certainly. Then we have Chris's favorite episode. We're going to skip the passion of Sabrina Spellman because I literally can't remember what happens in that episode. We're going to go on to episode 3, Lupercalia. Cris, we did a little search before, and Lupercalia is mentioned 22 times in the episode Lupercalia.
God, it felt like they would not shut up about Lupercalia.
Lupercalia.
Welcome, one and all, to Lupercalia.
2 years ago, Prudence was paired with Nick for Lupercalia.
Lupercalia is...
Welcome to the final night of the Lupercalia.
Although that does include the title on the script, so 21 times. Basically, Witchy Valentine's Day. Well, with a lot more sex and wolf costumes.
Also, like, May Day, because they have a maypole and do a little dance.
I liked this episode because Dorcas got to sleep with Melvin. And I put it that way because Melvin is one hot piece of witchy ass. Look at him with his no body hair, just like combed straight to the side. He, like, the second that scene happens and like it's revealed that Dorcas is sitting on someone else, I'm like, it's gonna be the nerd one. It's gonna be like Don DeLinger or whatever the fuck he is. And damned if it wasn't. It's like, it's just so stupid. But I'm glad they at least gave Abigail Cohen something to do because I think she is better than the nothing that they give her.
Well, they're not giving her credit, so
they're not. She just gets like a thanks for showing up, Abigail Cohen, in the end credits. But Lupercalia basically taking place at the same time as Mortal Valentine's Day, where Roz and Harvey are getting a little bit closer. I mean, it's basically the episode where Nick and Sabrina consider having sex or are about to. And then there's a scene where...
I'm just remembering things about this fucking episode.
There's a scene where I believe Sabrina's talking to Hilda, and Hilda's like, oh, is he pressuring you? And she's like, no, he's not. And in my notes I wrote, he's literally going to kill his familiar, the only member of his family that he still has, so that you guys can have sex in peace. He's kind of pressuring
But
you.
it's not about the sex. Like, he's going... No, the thing is, he can't have any future with Sabrina, period, or with anyone else if she's still around. Because
that's not true. He can have... Because he's had other girlfriends and other stuff. And
but he didn't... Like, he says it himself. He was never serious about them. Like, he'd hook up with them once or twice and then move on to someone else. He's never been able to have a full relationship because he's never wanted to until Sabrina. But that means that essentially, even if it wasn't Sabrina and he was going to have a future wife with someone else, that wouldn't happen.
Here's
with
what I
Amalia.
will say. While that might be true, he does lie about killing Amalia.
Yeah, which is... this episode confuses the shit out of me.
In my mind, he lied about it so that he didn't have to kill the one member of his family, but he could still fuck Sabrina.
It also really confuses me that he jumps Dorcas, or Dorcas jumps him.
Yeah.
Like, am I misremembering, or was that not him?
That was him running through the
because
woods.
She
and then
even
Dorcas,
says, like,
I get my turn first, or whatever. Yeah.
Dorcas!
No fair sneaking off with the half-breed. Not until I've had my turn.
And then she jumps him, and then he like goes and finds Sabrina in the woods.
Yeah, well, look, Dorcas
is never touched, is never mentioned.
Can't say the same about Dorcas. Zing! That's a 1 on Al's sick joke-o-meter. Chris,
jokeometer.
Fair point. He does definitely sleep with Dorcas, and again,
and also
that's not even the only lie that he tells this season to Sabrina, because the big revelation at the end of the season is that he's been getting close to Sabrina mostly because the Dark Lord asked him to, although, shocker of shocks, he fell in love with her along the way.
Maybe the problem is me, but I feel like I lost a certain amount of respect for him because he did kind of just become Sabrina's bitch.
I was going to say, my note here is Nick Scratch is a pussy.
It's not... And it's not even like about like gender constructs within a relationship. It's just like he says that he's going to kill Amalia.
Mm-hmm.
And no, he says he killed her.
Yes.
Kills another wolf for the heart. Yep. And then...
See, that's the thing is
Sabrina's the one who fucking has to kill her.
Yes. But that's also the thing, because she brought protection. That's the thing is that's where he's just lying so he can fuck Sabrina. Because you wouldn't... Just don't bring a heart. Like, if you're bringing a heart, you're trying to convince her that you killed Amalia.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to convince her that you killed Amalia, the point is so that you can fuck her.
No, I think the point is more so that he can keep Amalia alive. Like, he
could have kept her alive and just not brought a heart.
Yeah, but then there's no... I feel like it doesn't seem like he really did kill her. Like, he's trying to really sell it.
But does it not seem weirder to bring a heart?
I think it's because he's trying to protect Amalia. Like... If he brings a heart, then it's like, oh, look, it's proof that I actually did kill her. No one will go looking for her or question the fact that I killed her. And it like it's nothing.
Again, just one more example of Michelle Gomez being excellent here. This episode is where she tells Nick Scratch that he's got to put that bitch down.
Forgive my cavalier language, Mr. Scratch, but you have to put that bitch down.
Hal's favorite.
What a quote! I love me some Michelle Gomez. I'll tell you. I think we'll get to Miss Wardwell in a second, but I think she's great in the role. Nick Scratch, also I've written here, the worst bad boy character in TV history, because he's supposed to be like the rebel that like attracts Sabrina away from like farm boy Harvey, which thank God he keeps calling Harvey that.
I love it. Every time that there's like a throwback to Sabrina the Teenage Witch, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on the pancake thing until you posted it, and then I was like, Oh,
eating pancakes. You get that like dressing scene in the beginning of the first episode where she's spinning around and changing outfits. But yes, after Lupercalia. Oh, also in Lupercalia, Lucy Davis, Hilda gets her groove back because she goes to find Dr. Cerberus, who initially turns down her little Valentine.
It was cute.
But then reveals that it's because she turns him on so much and he's got an incubus inside of him. Remember that weird face thing he had on his stomach? We never see that cool effect again. I thought that was like the one good thing about the character. Not only does he have an incubus, he's also apparently a werewolf, but don't worry because that gets resolved off screen and no need to worry. Right? Why worry? This is one of the things that irritates me about the show is like there's so much that just feels like they're just throwing away all consequences.
Yeah.
It's just like, nah, fuck it. You know what? We did this, but it's over and don't worry about it. Just like Roz's blindness. It's gone.
Yeah. And it also feels like Roz's blindness came out of nowhere. Like
Kinda.
we knew it was coming because of what her grandmother said, but still like felt very random, like randomly happened and then was like, oh shit. A weird side plot within the following episodes where it was like, because I think isn't the next episode where the tarot episode?
The next episode is Dr. Cerberus's House of Horror. Yes, the tarot episode.
Was an episode where you were constantly incredibly confused about what was actually happening and what was just like part of, this alternate possibility.
Yeah, so a tarot card reader goes into Dr. Cerberus's, sets up shop. By the end, it's revealed that the tarot card reader is Miss Wardwell, just fucking around with all these people. But she basically gives each of them a look into their future and what would happen if they make one life choice over another, just kind of to scare them. This is a lot like the Baddie Bad episode. It takes place like that, where each one gets their kind of like own little encapsulated story that isn't real, but it's just like a what if. I don't like this kind of episode. I wish the series would stop doing them because this is where you see and you really feel the total lack of consequences. Because all this stuff happens, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're wasting my time because it doesn't contribute really to the forward-going plot. Sure, you have this understanding of what the character is thinking in light of this possibility, but you waste a literal hour of my life. I think this episode is like maybe the longest because they do fucking everyone. Yeah. Like Harvey, there's that weird bit where like Harvey goes to like art school.
Yeah.
And then there's the guy that hangs himself.
He goes away and like thinking that he can get out of this crazy town. And yet like there's a portal to the other realm.
And the whole time I'm just like, what 17th century German folktale did you like paraphrase for this bit? Because it feels like something you're copying that I should know, but I don't, and I really don't care.
Which I actually appreciated that, like just that little part, because they talk about the other realm, and it's through a closet.
The other realm gets
and I was like, Sabrina.
If we're counting other Sabrina Teenage Witch references, the other realm does get mentioned. The Witches' Council shows up a lot. No Drell, sadly, but
I was just happy that the portal to the other realm was a closet.
Yep.
Was it a linen closet?
No, it wasn't. It was just a weird old. He looked like he was in like a 1920s French like dorm house.
Yeah, it literally looked like in Osmanian buildings they have like the maid quarters were like at the top floor, and like that's why it had the that really is like what it's trying to emulate.
I'm sure
like
it's what it looked like.
If you went to study in France and you went to study in Paris and you had to live in like one of those like top floor apartments on the 6th floor where like the ceiling was all sloped and you had that little window because you're at the right under the roof.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
But this episode also, because during this time, this is when Zelda is considering the marriage to Father Blackwood before they eventually do get married in the episode Blackwood. She gets a vision of what it would be like if they were married, and then something involving Letitia, the baby that she gave to the forest witch. So this is also when she gets the vision of what it would be like, because then the baby would have been inside the witch, and she comes back and she's hot and she fucks Blackwood. I hate this episode. It goes on for too long. Very little feels meaningful. Nick Scratch does some show magic. also in this.
Sabrina freezes in space.
Yeah.
It's more annoying to me that it's all of the stuff that does not actually happen, and then they make change. So it's very hard to keep in mind what's real and what's not, and then it seems like
they let it affect them like it was real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is very confusing because you're like, wait, but that didn't actually happen. Right. So why are you taking that into account? I don't know.
The next episode is Blackwood, where they do get married. This is where we meet the anti-pope, who basically the one thing that Sabrina's doing these first 5 episodes before the missionaries episode, besides beating down that patriarchy, is realizing that her father was somewhat a reformist in the Church of Night and trying to push forward his ideas for reformation up against Father Blackwood's very Puritan vision for the Church of Night and the Judas Society. Regression is the word. That really comes to a head in this episode, Blackwood, where the anti-pope, who happens just to love Edward Spellman, what a guy, he says. Nick Scratch, being the bitch that he is, goes to the bottom of the ocean to retrieve Edward Spellman's manuscripts.
To show us his abs.
That's right. So Cris was very impressed.
I was like not expecting it. So
and then Sabrina gives those to the anti-pope, while Father Blackwood gives the anti-pope his vision for a more Puritan church. And I thought there was going to be like a switcheroo because they were in like the same kind of like binding, but reality, the anti-pope just gets killed, and eventually in the season we find out that it was Father Blackwood's doing, although we kind of get a hint to that immediately. He's the bad one. He does everything. Because he...
Did we really think Ambrose did it? No.
But Ambrose is initially shown to have done it, but he was essentially under a trance or some sort of magical spell because his familiar, who was given to him by Father Blackwood, went inside him because he's a rat and controlled him. Blackwood, the episode is okay. I do like all of the... I love Father Blackwood, and I think anytime he gets... Richard Coyle gets a chance to like hem it up a little is a lot of fun. And in this, he's doing a lot of like, oh, here comes the anti-pope. Maybe I'll be the next anti-pope. He's great. Not as good as he was. That's what happens in The Passion of Sabrina Spellman. That's the one where they put on a school play. And that scene where Zelda walks into Father Blackwood's office and he is as happy as can be because he's written an adaptation to this play. All I wrote down in my notes was like, Father Blackwood is Maxwell Sheffield. He's putting on a production, and the nanny, Zelda, is here to louse it up a little.
This year, however, we'll be using a new adaptation.
A new adaptation? I've always known you to be a staunch traditionalist, Faustus.
I wrote the adaptation, Zelda. I'm very proud of it.
I think it was in the first episode. It might have been in the second episode. When Zelda basically shuts down Blackwood, and she's like, "Oh, I get it. You don't want to make us official because you need to respect your wife and her memory. So let's just be colleagues until you get over that time period, and then we can figure out what we are."
And like any man,
shut that shit down.
And like any man, he crumbles in like one episode.
Yeah, he's like, okay, let's get married.
We're not strong-willed, folks. We're not. But yeah, Blackwood, they get married, even though Sabrina thinks that the wedding would be postponed after the death of the anti-pope. But they're just like, no, we got married in the office. Good for them. Not needing a big ceremony.
He's like, no, it's going to be a joint funeral wedding.
Right.
As all the great weddings
are. One wedding and a funeral. Come on.
Masquerade.
That's right. You can be whatever you want to be, whatever the fuck it is. Then we get Missionaries, which is the episode we talked about. Sabrina of Nazareth rises.
I thought it was a great episode.
I think it is by far the best episode of the series.
Fucking psychotic missionary angels.
Because they do provide a tense, like, episode-wide, like, story where you're always concerned about them showing up. And that scene when Luke is like being tortured in the beginning is so good because it establishes these guys as sadistic and insane. And playing off that like very untrustworthy Mormon missionary style of character that the Book of Mormon kind of like
I think it's also important because you don't want to get into this delineation of good versus evil where the Church of Night is on the side of evil, and it's like, oh no, but these are the good guys. These are the guys who are trying to like do the right thing. Like there's extremism on both sides, Father Blackwood being one side and then the missionaries being on the other side, where it's like taking that religion and like manipulating it into a weapon, which is essentially what they're doing.
It's basically their I'm gonna use the word purity, but like their what's the word?
Cleansing.
No, but like they are such zealots.
Yes.
That there's extremes on either side.
Right, exactly, which is what I just said.
Yes, I know. I just thought I'd summarize into like 8 words.
But for both of them, it's almost a matter of like weaponizing the religion.
Right. It also is an interesting play to have the main antagonist be angels.
Right.
We are no ordinary witch hunters. We are divine.
We are angels.
And that scene when Sabrina does come back from the dead and goes on her like, I'm gonna fuck shit up now speech is the most I'm Sabrina Spellman speech she's ever given.
Which, because they had talked about her as what was the word that they used? The Herald of Hell. A herald is essentially the person who like brings the message. So I thought that Satan was speaking through her in that scene where like her voice has changed, and when she was reborn and like rose again and her voice had changed and her eyes were white, and like I thought at that point that Satan was speaking through her, so it was more of like a possession thing and not a matter of like I thought initially it was like the devil is bringing her back because this was against his will. Right.
Yeah.
But in that moment specifically, I didn't think that was her talking. I thought that was Satan speaking through her.
Because they did put that effect on her voice.
Right.
Yeah.
And floating and shit.
Sure.
So,
that's
all of the things that she was doing, which were not in line with her powers.
Right.
I thought that was like possession.
Praise Satan! Praise Satan! Well done. But my, how quickly you turn on your false god.
You're not a witch. What are you?
I am the Dark Lord's sword!
And like I said, after this episode, the next 3, you have the Miracles of Sabrina Spellman, where like she keeps performing miracles and keeps discovering new powers and believes that she's Jesus, basically.
Yeah.
She doesn't really realize that she's like Devil Jesus until a little later on.
No. I don't know that she necessarily thinks she's Jesus.
She definitely starts to think that
I think she thinks that she's tapped into a new kind, because she even says it, that she thinks that because she is born of mortal and witch, she thinks that she's able to tap into a specific kind of magic that other witches are not.
Yeah.
And so she thinks of it as being part of like that, and that if there were other witches who, she doesn't see it as a singular thing. No, she sees it as if this other combination existed within the witch realm, then other people could have that kind of power.
Someone who is there to bring change to the separation between witches. Right. She's there to unite witches and mortals. A real Martin Luther King of the Chilling Adventures universe.
I think she definitely tries to take on aspects of like things that Jesus did.
She was like
in terms of like
they are literally going for a lazy Jesus analogy here. Okay, at one point, the Judas Society tries to kill her. Okay, they're a little ham-fisted with this. It's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. They don't know how to write with subtlety all the time. But yes, this episode she does a lot of miracles. This is where she heals Ross's eyes, I believe. And then we have Mandrake, where she tries to like kill the witch side of her when she discovers that that's what the devil wants to bring about the apocalypse.
Well, I think I don't know where the fuck she gets these theories from. She knows that she's tied to the apocalypse, and that part of bringing about the apocalypse is tied to her. And her assumption is that that's tied to her powers, and that he's somehow gonna, because he has been asking her to do things for him, that he's somehow gonna ask her to do something with her powers,
right,
which is going to bring about the apocalypse. That's pretty much mostly something she guesses.
Isn't this where, Nick Scratch finds a book and he's like, hey, look, in this book it says, you're doing all these crazy things.
Yeah.
Stop doing them.
And there's an image of you on a cave wall, but the problem is that nowhere does it say that her power is what's going to cause this.
This is also the episode where Theo, who we'll talk about in a second, and Harvey just go into a cave that's like been boarded up for 100 years that everyone stays away from because it's scary, and then are immediately able to kill a white witch.
Oh yeah.
There's like 30 seconds. Theo gets him right in the back, gets the witch right in the back with a pickaxe, and it's like, well, that was easy. Somebody should have come down here a century ago.
People were scared.
But anyway, so they make a Mandrake, basically a copy of Sabrina with her magical powers. They think it doesn't work, but then we find out at the end of the episode that the Mandrake snuck out of there because Ambrose fell asleep. Go figure.
Good
what
job,
a lazy
Ambrose.
son of a bitch. Maybe you should have
really earning that top boy.
Maybe you should have had your familiar be an owl, so it kept you up at night.
A raccoon.
Little mask. They the Mandrake then goes about making mandrakes of Sabrina's friends.
As you do when you need some friends.
Sure. I did really like Kiernan Shipka's performance as Mandrake Sabrina.
With her little baby voice.
I thought it was fun.
What are you talking about?
I'm here, dear Auntie.
You alright?
Yes. I woke up today feeling excited. Excited to be here. To be alive.
Ooh. Okay.
This is where she just quickly kills all of the Judas Society, which I think is also fun, because fuck them.
I thought the acting was really good.
From
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
She's great.
She's great.
And at the end of it, my favorite scene maybe of the whole season, they go to a duel, because that's the noble way to decide.
That's how you solve your problems.
Which one lives. And they do like 10 paces, and at the 8th pace, real Sabrina just turns around and shoots her in the head, which
9.
is what I would do.
It was literally at 9.
Was it 9?
At 9. You said 9 and the shot blew out.
Oh, so different. Then that's what, you're not gonna fuck with this. It's
like you shot early.
Yeah,
she was all sad.
I would have done the exact same thing because I'm not honorable. I would have shot my Mandrake right in the back of the head.
When he said that they were going to do a duel, my assumption was that he wasn't going to put a bullet in the other Sabrina's gun.
Too much work. This makes her much more of a badass.
Or he was just going to give her a faulty gun that wasn't going to fire.
Ooh, an enchanted gun.
I mean,
and then the last episode is Masquerade.
Masquerade.
The Mephisto Waltz, where, as we said before...
Oh my God, when he says it... When he says, and then we will dance the Mephisto Waltz. I was like, what the fuck is your problem?
Luke,
you are a clown.
He is. Luke Cook here playing the mortal version of the Dark Lord.
It's his angelic form.
Yes. He, as we said, everything that happened before, at the end, they try to defeat the devil after the Masquerade. And while it kind of works, they can imprison him in that weird Rubik's Cube box that Sabrina's father had designed. Yeah. But Miss Wardwell, Lilith, as we eventually discover, bit angry that she's not going to be on the devil's right-hand side, but it's Sabrina instead, helps the Fright Club, as they eventually name themselves, to capture the Dark Lord in the worst prison of all, a mortal body. Let me tell you, it's true.
Or the strongest.
Not really. They trap the Dark Lord in Nick Scratch's body to kind of make you feel bad for him, but he's really a dick all season.
Yeah. But see, he needed to, because he needed to redeem himself in Sabrina's eyes. And although he like fixed the box for her and like helped.
Yeah, finding
that
out
wasn't really going to be enough to redeem him.
Yeah, finding out that you've been working for the Dark Lord.
You had to kind of make him a martyr.
I can't restrain him for long. We need a better prison, a stronger one.
There's nothing stronger than an Acheron.
Incorrect, Mr. Scratch. The mightiest prison is the first one created by the false god. The human body, flesh and bone. The strongest and most sacred bindings in nature. It has to be me.
Absolutely not! I'm the best binder and conjurer since Edward Spellman. If anyone can keep him trapped, it's me.
Do it, Mr. Scratch.
Nick.
I love you, Spellman. You taught me how to love.
Still, he is made a martyr, and then Miss Wardwell takes his body back to hell so she can rule over hell, and the Dark Lord is now trapped in Nick Scratch's body. But by the end of the season, the end of this episode, Sabrina, Theo, the former Susie, Harvey, and Roz are all sitting at Dr. C's, naming themselves the Fright Club.
Drinking some malts,
naming themselves the Fright Club. The original Miss Wardwell returns.
Which do you genuinely believe that she has no memory of anything?
I do, but I think what will end up happening is like
she's gonna get flashes of memory, and she's gonna be like
that.
"Yo, Sabrina, what was up with that time when we like conjured some shit?
What's up with that time that I killed my fiance Adam?
Remember that time that I walked into hell with the Bone Town crown on my head?
I do. I think what will end up happening is like Lilith will use Miss Wardwell as like a way to talk to Sabrina.
Oh yeah, she'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, well, of course. I mean, she's there either way, but like the character Lilith will of course have to come back. But they decide to go back to hell to rescue Sabrina's boyfriend.
Sabrina? What's the plan?
Let's go to hell and get my boyfriend back.
First of all, leave him there. The reason he's there is so that there's not the apocalypse. It's probably a good bargain. Date someone else. There are other witches. There are mortals. Go meet someone else. There are people out there. Use Plenty of Fish. Use Bumble like they do on Riverdale for some reason. Tinder's still a thing. It works sometimes.
Hinge,
sure. That's a one. There's so many apps, Sabrina. There's probably a witch one. Conjure without some letters missing, or with some letters missing. Leave them there. You're just going to cause more trouble.
Dark dates.
Also, you're the only witch there. The other three are mortals. It's not going to work. Sure, Theo killed that white witch, but he can't do it all the time.
I mean, Roz can see things.
Sure. Can she see how bad this is going to turn out? Because she probably should be able to.
Should. The thing is, it's just like, it's that kind of
blatant stupidity.
Oh God, I want to say ego, but I'm trying to think the hubris of it. It's one of her major character flaws, where she just thinks like, she doesn't think about what would actually happen. She's just like, well, I can do this because I am Sabrina Spellman.
True.
That's great and all, but like, you're gonna get your friends killed, and you're going to unleash hell upon earth by doing some stupid shit. Like, there's a reason that you did this. I understand wanting to save him, but I also know you, and I know that you're going to rush in and do some stupid ass shit, which is going to cause more problems than it fixes.
In about 8 episodes.
In about 8 episodes.
It's really time for me to get my shit together. We're on episode 6.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
In about 4 episodes. The first 4 will just be a bunch of filler shit, like, Sabrina goes on a beach vacation and then finds something spooky in the sand.
That's true. It's a sand crab, spooky sand crab witch
that steals your dreams and makes them into musicals.
Or just an episode of Prudence and Ambrose chasing Father Blackwood around Europe. Because Father Blackwood runs away from the church after he finds out that Sabrina's going to ascend. And then they're like, nah, fuck that. Blackwood tried to frame me, and also he's my dad, but he keeps trying to ignore me or kill me or whatever. Oh, he also tries to kill all the people of the Church of Night. when
he poisons them all.
He does. He goes
Which
full.
I saw coming as soon as he was like, oh yeah, he totally blessed our church and was like, yeah, we should be reborn. So like, let's all drink from this cup. I was like, nah, y'all don't want to drink from that cup.
Y'all like Kool-Aid, don't you?
Stay the fuck away from that cup. That shit's poison.
And then of course the aunties have to save those kids, but manage to only save the ones that have names. Have names.
It's like a handful of people.
But of course, this is basically the season ends with Father Blackwood on the run with the twins because Letitia comes back. Ambrose and Prudence chasing him like they're witch hunters. Reminded me of what's his face? Who was the Wesley Snipes played that vampire? Blade.
Yeah, I wanted to say Bane, and I was like, no, that's wrong.
I was Bane on the mind also. They're chasing him. The aunties are probably going to be running the Church of Lilith now. That's what they tease. Yeah. And then we have Sabrina. Get the hell out. Literally. Get the hell out. Stay the hell out of hell.
I'm excited to see if they, which I don't know that they will, because that would be like the cool thing to do. But like in terms of the Prudence and Ambrose storyline, I hope that we get to see some like how Hogwarts has like their other schools.
Maybe. Like
other schools in Europe, and how like they're practicing the dark arts and ish like that.
I mean, the last thing we haven't really talked about, I want to talk about separately here, is the Theo storyline. Because I think that is the best part of like those first 3 or 4 episodes. I think that basically Susie basically just recognizes that she has always felt more comfortable as a man, and goes through that personal transition, partially through trying out for the boys basketball team, which while I don't have a problem with that story, I have a problem in their telling of it, in that Susie sucks at basketball.
Yeah.
So she eventually gets on the team because Sabrina helps her with magic, but the story there should be Susie, now Theo, is good at basketball, but is not being allowed to play because of prejudice.
Right.
As where here, the story is kind of Theo isn't very good at basketball and shouldn't be on the team, but because we're trying to topple some oppressive patriarchy, we are going to put him on the team anyway.
Right. Which I mean, that totally, not to discount the fact that like they're harassing the shit out of Theo.
I think we do get a lot of important scenes to depict the prejudice that a lot of trans people have to face.
Right.
And I think one of maybe the sweetest best scene in the season is the scene where Theo just explains to his father that he's always felt more comfortable as a boy. He's always been a boy, and his father is just, a little taken aback, but is accepting. Yeah. And I think it's really important to especially show the audience of this show that it is hard. You will face obstacles if you feel this way, but your family most of the time will support you, and you will find support somewhere.
Right.
I think that's one of the best things this season does.
But you've always been my best girl. I mean, look at you.
I feel good when people call me he and young fella, like Roz's grandma did. I can't keep going on as a girl anymore. I just can't, Dad.
Susie, I don't...
Theo. Maybe you could start by calling me Theo.
And even the way that Roz and Harvey are like,
they do have
okay, Theo.
They have that conversation in Dr. C's, which again is a good conversation to show, because there's a lot of people out there who want to be accepting, but don't really have a full grasp of the situation, because they don't directly know someone who's trans. They don't.
They just don't have the experience.
Exactly. They don't know how to be supportive.
Right.
And that's a good
or
way to
the
show.
right way to.
Yeah. I think that is maybe the best thing this show does beyond introducing the term anti-pope, which is a real boon to my life. I just want to talk about some things that we liked, random things that stuck out as things that we liked, didn't like. In terms of not liking, I think we should go there first. The fact that characters here are irrationally dumb. Like, they learn something and then seem to forget it and then have to learn it again and keep forgetting it. The perfect example here is the fact that Miss Wardwell is constantly shocked by how much the devil doesn't want her to be his queen, even though, like, she keeps finding this out that Sabrina is the one that the devil wants. Yeah. And it's constantly like, oh, it says Sabrina in that book? It's like, you bitch, you found this out 10 episodes ago. My God. Also, Prudence constantly wanting her father's acceptance and him constantly not accepting her and, like, belittling her and being like, you're shit. And then he's like, I'll give you my name, though, huh? And he's like, oh, Daddy.
I, to a certain extent, agree with you, but at the same time, I know we've had this discussion. I want to make it clear that I feel like I let them get away with it a bit in that I think a lot of people do deal with toxic relationships, and a lot of that is part of that because Lilith has a very, very long history of dealing with Satan, and her relationship with him, it can be very hard when you previously had a good relationship with someone and then they start treating you like garbage for those changes to sink in, and for you not to be like, but there was a time before when things were great. I could totally get us back there if I just do the right thing. It's very hard to get out of that mentality. And I feel like Prudence is in a similar cycle where all she's ever wanted is to have a family and, like, to have a father or mother and, like, be actually accepted by them. And so for her, it was a very big deal to get the Blackwood name. And as much as she knows that her father is garbage as a person, she has nothing else. She has her sisters, but
Dorcas is busy with Melvin, and he's not.
But it's not the same.
And Agatha doesn't get to say anything.
It's not the same, and
it's true.
It doesn't carry that level of protection or notoriety or acceptance.
I understand why it happens in the specific instances. It just makes the characters look really dumb.
The thing is, I think in both of their cases, I mean, it's a hard lesson to learn, and I think in both of their cases they do learn it, and they come out stronger on the other side for it. And they take control of the situation in the end. So I have, as much as I agree with you that it, like, they kind of, especially with Lilith, it was just like, holy shit, man, like, over and over again. Like, every time it was like, what?
Did you like the whole Lilith Adam sub-story?
I thought it was cute. I wanted, did you notice that he was from Buffy?
I did not.
The
whole fucking series is from Buffy.
I think he's married to Willow.
Oh.
In real life.
Oh.
Like, I think that's her actual. I was happy for her. Like, I was happy that she got to have her side piece and, find happiness with him.
I thought it was going to be revealed that, like, he was the devil the whole time, like, testing her, as opposed to just at the end being like, nah, I killed him. Nah,
no, I knew he was going to die.
Well, I mean,
like, you knew it was going to happen.
He obviously had to, but I figured it was just going to be like a test by the devil.
Right.
As where I think when it is revealed that the devil killed him and made her eat him, I think that reaction by Michelle Gomez in, like, the bathroom, especially when she finds out that Stolas has been, like, ratting on her the whole time, is like
that's some serious betrayal.
That is a great scene.
It was you, wasn't it, Stolas? You ungrateful stool pigeon. You've been reporting back to the Dark Lord ever since he brought you back to life. Haven't you? As the Dark Lord doesn't know all. He's not omniscient. He's not omnipotent. Which means he won't see what's coming next.
In terms of things that also annoyed me, I think the, like, looks of some of the secondary villains, I'm thinking of those three, like, demons the rat one and the fly one and the bat one.
Yeah.
They all look like Buffy villains, and not in a good way.
Exactly. Like they straight up came out of Buffy.
Absolutely. And sometimes
they
worse.
talk like
they
them.
do. Like, I am the Lord of Flies. That's my Buffy.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
I was more annoyed that they mispronounced one of their names.
Osmodeus or whatever it was.
Asmodeus,
yes.
I think.
But sometimes
they say it. I think they say it as
Asmodeus.
Asmodeus.
I am Asmodeus, Lord of Vermin.
The only reason and maybe I'm wrong, because British and American pronunciations of shit, but because I watched Supernatural and I've watched it for 13 seasons.
Yes.
And there's a lot of angelic and Bible names that they say a lot, and so I'm just used to that pronunciation.
Sometimes I said it does also look worse than Buffy stuff. Like, I don't know how closely you were looking at like the scenes when the devil would be talking to Sabrina in her room, but like the goat head devil, like that looks like shit. Because it's just like it looks like a mask on a broom. It's what it looks like. And especially the that scene when like Amalia is fighting Nick and like Sabrina stabs him in the back.
Yeah.
That like werewolf costume looks like it was out of like a shitty Goosebumps episode. It's really bad. Like they got the little twitch on the lip, but besides that, trash designs. Like I don't know, I hated the design of Batty Bat in the season 1 episode.
It was bad, and the way that Batty Bat talked,
yes,
was very Buffy.
But some of these are even worse. The one I did like was when Madam Satan, Miss Wardwell, creates like that golem-y Adam, like the Scarecrow guy,
right,
out of her rib. I thought that one looked really good.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd done more with him than just like, I'm going to go to Sabrina's house.
He died so quick.
I'm dead now.
He died very
He's
quick.
the best looking one. And yeah, I mean, there are things to like also, Cris. I don't know if you had anything that you disliked that stuck out.
I feel like things that I disliked were more
specific
in relation to like storyline. Like I feel like there was this whole build up that Sabrina was going to like have this dark transformation.
Yes.
Like, but in terms of like her relationship with school, like she was going to be like the new bitch in charge at school, but in a way where like she was going to be very much involved with the Weird Sisters, which did not happen at all. And I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of surprised with that. It seemed like even from the first episode, like she was still kind of on her own. Like she didn't have friends at school.
so much of the promotion for the second part was like, oh, it's an all new Sabrina. She's got the mortals out of her life, and now she's kicking it with the witches. And it's like, that's really the same.
I mean, she has the mortals out of her life.
Got a slightly different haircut.
Good part. Like her hair's a bit blonder.
Yeah, I like it. It looks good.
But
it's a wig, but still looks good.
I think the fact that she seems very lonely. Like she has pretty much isolated herself, and so she's pretty much hanging out with Nick or by herself with Salem
or stealing gum for the devil.
Yeah, which
what a stupid talk about things I didn't like. Making the devil talk a lot, which that like goat devil voice is a little too Goosebumps also, but having the devil, one of the first lines the devil says is like, steal a pack of gum. It's like, you're really hurting your devil here.
Your breath is stank.
Orbit or better. All right, shit.
What do you want me to do?
Steal a pack of gum.
Huh?
That is all.
They don't carry that at Dr. C's or whatever it is.
No, it's like nondescript spooky gum.
In 1960s packaging.
Yeah. Things I did like, the Witch Hunters episode, the Missionaries episode is great. By far the best episode of the season. If you're going to watch one, watch that one because it's really the only one that has consequences for the rest of the series.
Oh my God. I just thought of something. So yeah, I think I have very specific little things that I liked. Like the episode in which Zelda is like entranced by her husband, like, and she like does all of these spins. she does these like random twirls.
Miranda
all
Otto,
the time.
Miranda Otto as Zelda is great again. I mean, speaking of just great Zelda stuff, the tarot card episode, when she comes in and she's like, what the fuck is this? Tarot?
Some bullshit.
Go fuck yourself, lady.
And then she pulls up, like, was it the Empress? I'm trying to remember what card it was, and she was like, yeah, that's me, bitch.
The one thing that's even better about that episode is when Harvey's getting his reading, and then when he puts down like the dunce card or whatever it is,
it was the Fool.
The Fool card. Like, yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yep, that's pretty much me.
I laughed for 2.5 minutes.
The dunce. You know nothing of tarot.
It's what Harvey is.
Yeah. I also loved Hilda's transformation. I feel like Hilda had so much more to work with this season than last. I feel like when she just straight up poisons that bitch, I was like, yes, right. Hilda.
The guy who tried to
get it. But I meant the woman who was fucking with her sister, and she was like, bitch, I'm about to poison your ass. Like, oh no, I'm not playing. You're just straight up dead now.
Yeah. They sure do love killing people on this show.
She's like, oh, you thought I was playing with my little doll. Nope. Your ass is dead.
Chris, I think it's safe to say that best performances go to the adults.
The aunties?
All the adults, I think, do a really good job.
Yeah, I think so, too.
And Kieran Shipka.
Pretty much, yeah.
I would also throw in Lachlan Watson as Theo there, because I think it's a really good portrayal.
I love Theo and his murderous rampage where he was just at the end like, let me fucking kill anything. Let me at it.
The one thing I really liked about Theo is I think it's after like Harvey tries to get Sabrina off the roof by saying like, oh, I if you love me at all, come down here.
Yeah, if you ever love me.
And then like Roz is like, dude, what the hell? And like Theo's there, he's just like, I'm gonna go over there now. Yeah. I'll see you guys later. It's like, yes, Theo, that is what is done.
And Theo's just killing the mandrakes like, fuck you.
And the one that's true, she just drops that big rock on Harvey, much like the rock Harvey dropped on Roz when he said that he still kind of loves Sabrina because he
didn't say that though.
No, he was like, bitch. If
he
you
was
love
just
me,
trying.
get down here.
That was pretty manipulative. He was just like, yo, if you ever loved me,
also
then
wasn't
don't do
that
this.
important either. It was just like, hey, look, your face is on this old mosaic. How about that? The one thing we still have to talk about, Chris, is where this leads.
Yeah.
As we said, you get the aunties running the Church of Lilith. That's going to be fun. A little power play between Zelda and Hilda. That's always going to be good. You've got Ambrose and Prudence chasing down Father Blackwood, which could be a fun one-off episode. Kind of like it almost feels like they're trying to spin that off into a sub-series.
I don't think so. I think they're just trying to come up with a cool alternative storyline.
Which, if they do, would be the perfect backdoor pilot for my new podcast about backdoor pilots in through the back door.
Are you actually going to do that?
I'm getting closer and closer in my head to doing it. It's
okay.
I think it's mostly because the title is too good to throw out.
If you say so.
It's an anal analogy.
I can see Zelda, much like Sabrina, letting the power go to her head.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can see her thinking she's creating some kind of utopia in a society, but really just like quickly becoming like a dictator.
And then the one thing that we
and Sabrina being like, nah, bitch, you crazy. Let's like overthrow my aunt.
Yeah.
Like, yes, do we see this happening?
Every fucking time with the overthrowing.
Yeah, because she, like, again, although they bonded towards the end of the season.
Sabrina's at like a Denny's. There's no sausage in my Grand Slam. All right, let's overthrow this fucking Denny's.
Denny's is done. That's the thing. Like, one thing that really, it didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, family's hella important to Zelda. Hella.
Mm-hmm.
Zella important.
Herald of Hella important.
Although it's really important to Zelda, her basically out of nowhere deciding, well, fuck the Dark Lord. If that's what he wants, I don't give a shit. If he's not getting Sabrina.
Talk about left-hand turns. It was just immediately like, oh, he wants you to be by his side? No, fuck everything I've ever believed.
She's always been, oh, well, if that's what he wants. If he want this ass, this ass is what he gonna get. But, like, just out of nowhere, she was
Sabrina
like, nope,
for him.
Sabrina comes first, family comes first, so fuck the Dark Lord.
Too plump a choice, or whatever the fuck they say.
Supple.
Supple, there you go.
They love the word supple.
The one thing about what's coming in the future that we don't really have a great grasp on, I mean, they do tease that, like, oh, we're going to hell. All the kids are going to hell. But it's like, they had a really interesting storyline of like Sabrina being this like Jesus analogy and trying to reform the church, and like that just all got swept away in like 3 episodes, and I felt let down by that because
3 episodes? I feel like that was all like, oh, you mean her specifically being like, oh no, let's do good and let's reform the
like
church.
I'm witch Jesus. I'm going to bring about change in this society.
I think maybe that might come into play. I think it's hard because I want that to come into play again when Zelda's running the church.
Yeah.
And her trying to push those reforms. But at the same time, I feel like her discovering that she's actually not the Edward's daughter and is actually Satan's daughter. I feel like that kind of undermines the reforms that she was trying to bring about, because the reforms are very much based off of the union between mortal and witch.
Sure.
Brings about this new kind of magic, and it's really, well, no, you're Satan's daughter, and that's why you have this magic.
True. But I mean, she still is like half witch, half mortal, even if she's not a Spellman. I
think she can still definitely try and bring about changes in terms of like mortal and witch unification. I just don't know. I feel like that's something she might actually try and do. And because Zelda, even though Zelda was supportive of, like, that's what I was trying to get at. Even though Zelda and Sabrina were like, Zelda and Sabrina were working together at the end of the season, they have always classically clashed over their ideas, because Zelda is very much in line with tradition. And
tradition.
I know. It was in my head the second.
Who every day must toil in the witchcraft, brew another potion, make another hat. It's Zelda. I really don't know how that song goes, but I've watched that Gilmore Girls episode a couple of times.
So I feel like
the papa tradition.
No, the mama. No,
not the mama. That's a reference to dinosaurs.
Like because they've always clashed in that way, I don't know how new Zelda is going to be in her thoughts in this new religion that she's the what is?
I don't know, the head bitch in charge, head witch in charge,
head priestess, right?
Yes, high priestess.
High priestess. Well, that might actually have, the high priestess might have been the card,
maybe,
because there is a high priestess card.
High priestess.
I think there is, but there is an empress card, so maybe that was the one she got. Anyway, I think actually the Empress card might be.
Oh my god!
Wait, I think the Empress card might be the one that that Miss Wardwell pulls at the end for herself.
Gotcha. Let's wrap this up and go get a drink at Dorian Gray's.
Sorry.
Come on, Chris.
Because of that clash, I feel like it's likely that she is going to, although it's like this new church, I feel like she might be very traditional in her interpretations and the way in which she tries to manage the church. And I feel like Sabrina might be like, nah, where are the mortals? Why can't we get mortals involved?
That's because it's witchcraft.
One little thing that I thought was really cool, which I don't think they had ever touched on before, was that to get into the school.
Oh, the hand thing?
Yeah, I thought that was cool. It was like, came out of nowhere, but I thought it was kind of cool.
It was, I mean, I think it was kind of just put in there just so they could do the whole missionaries cutting off the hand thing.
Cut off your hand.
Yeah. But it was cool. Not cool was the whole Dorian Gray thing. But, you know.
The second he was on screen, I was like, fuck this shit. I hate Dorian Gray or like Dorian Gray being put into shit. I don't know why, but it really bothers me. Because it's like, it makes sense that he would be tied to witchcraft because of the fact that, like,
he's got a portrait that keeps him young.
Yeah. But it just really annoyed me. Where it was like, oh, let's go hang out at Dorian Gray's. Get some absinthe because, you know, we're witchy, but we're old-fashioned and it's cool and young. And
also like, oh, it's a men's club, but it's Sabrina Spellman, so don't worry about it.
It was so quick where they were like, it's a men's club, but we'll allow women because, like, there are parties later on at Dorian Gray's.
Miss Wardwell's just there sometimes.
There's a bunch of women.
Yeah.
No, like there was one where Prudence was there. Like it was, I don't know if it was in the beginning of the Lupercalia episode, and they were talking about Lupercalia.
Maybe
they're like, "Oh, you've never heard of Lupercalia?" I think that was at Dorian Gray's, and I'm like, "There's a bunch of women in here."
All you guys really need is a push.
You really just completely crumbled.
But there you go, Chris. That's our review of part 2.
That's a fucking mess.
Hey, you know what? We had a conversation about it. You got our thoughts. You got what we liked, what we didn't like, what we look forward to in the future. What more could you possibly ask for? Competency.
I mean, we could probably talk about it for a whole other hour.
Yeah, we could, but then Al has to edit
We
it.
will not do that.
No.
But, if there's other aspects
Just
of the
imagine
show,
how much I've had to edit out of this.
If there's, you probably did a lot.
Cris says that to herself, knowing that it's very true. Folks, if you want to hear more from us, you can check out our reviews of the first season of Chilling Adventures, or, hey, you know what? We do a podcast about Sabrina Teenage Witch. I do, and Cris is always on it.
Always.
Check that out, sabrinaswitchtrials.com, at Sabrina's Witch Trials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Sabrina's Witch Trials. You might be listening to this there, but all the podcasts are up there. New videos going up there every so often. Actually, there will be a real fun video, but I will be compiling all of my least favorite analogies that the writers of Sabrina Chilling Adventures love to do, where it's like, your unholiness.
Yeah.
Oh, anti-pope. Stuff like that. You all know what I mean. You've definitely noticed it because it pulled you out of whatever you were watching for like a minute, because it's like, oh, really? A Hail Malthus pass? That's not a thing.
You're really just using all of them now.
I've got many, because I have a list.
I know, I have a list too.
God.
Al told me he was making a list, and then I literally watched the full season making a list on my phone while watching it.
So look forward to that video where I'll probably rank them and really just complain for several minutes, as all YouTubers end up doing. But follow us, Sabrina's Witch Trials in all those places, and follow Cris at Cris Conkers on Facebook and Twitter, and go to @CrisConkers.com. That's not how websites work. Facebook, sorry. I'm so tired. Instagram and Twitter at Cris Conkers. CrisConkers.com. Check her out there. Listen to her podcast all about plants. Have you gotten that one off the ground?
I don't know. And I was never going to do that, was I?
That's a shame.
I'm sorry, the market's too saturated.
It's true.
And so is the soil. They're going to rot the roots.
Took the joke right out of my mouth.
That's my
Root
plant
rot.
mom joke.
Root rot.
Because I've done that to plants.
Many times. Check out the last Quizmaster if you want to find out too much about that. And that's all for now. And until next time, we will... Well, thank you for listening, first of all. And we will see you in... Dorian Gray's. No, we'll see you in the other realm.
Let's go to hell and get my boyfriend back.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!